بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وصلى الله على نبينا وعلى أصحابه أجمعين وبعد. First, I'd like to say regarding the comments of the brother that I think he has exaggerated somewhat, and I say this realistically. We are not under any illusion about our status, and we know more about ourselves than others. So inshallah ta'ala, it is just a way that if you call to the sunnah, Allah will raise you, whether you want to be raised or not. Prior to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu, prior to the ayah in which وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, and we have raised your mentioning. So anybody who supports the sunnah, which is not hard to do by voice, or with the tawfiq of Allah, or by the help of Allah and the grace of Allah, or by writing or whatever, then the people will begin to mention. But people have a tendency to exaggerate. All of us is inshallah in this room is du'at, and all of us inshallah in this room will have a connection with the scholars. So remove from your mind anything he might have said regarding Abu Uwais, myself, regarding that issue. And I say this sincerely. Sincerely I say this because it's important that we keep the thing or this matter that we are upon sound and clear from any type of exaggeration, and that has to be said. It's even such that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when he was praised and he had a right to be praised, used to say, "Oh Allah, don't take me to account for what they say. لا تأخذني بما يقولون." Don't call me to account for what they say. People exaggerate on their tongues, and they're ascribing to individuals qualities that they may or may not possess. Exaggeration. So don't call me to account for that. وَاجْعَلْنِي أَحْسَنُ خَيْرٍ مِمَّا يُظُنُّونَ. Make me better than they think I am. Make me better than they think I am. Well, and forgive me مَا لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, what they don't know. What is done in secret. The sins and so on and so forth. Forgive me what they don't know. So this is just to keep things sound and correct, especially in particular since we're talking about shakhsiyya. We don't want to, personalities, we don't want to do that, and I'm sure he had no intention of doing that. He probably feels that he's giving the person their right, but like I said, I know myself better. Secondly, shakhsiyya, it was decided to delay it to talk about it after Maghrib, because he felt that the administration felt that there would be more hudur or more people present or so on and so forth. But nevertheless, we found something inshallah ta'ala to benefit our time, and that will be regarding something that we're all aware of and we all are witness to and we all see nowadays. And that is the narration in which the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَكِنَّكُمْ غُثَاءً, but you are scum. But you are scum. لَكِنَّكُمْ غُثَاءً. So we ask Allah Ta'ala to guide us, to give us a tawfiq, to benefit from what we hear, to make us of those who act upon what we hear. We say, "Oh Allah, these are your servants who have gathered in a house of one of your houses, coming to seek the knowledge regarding your deen, coming to learn about your book. Please, oh Allah Ta'ala," or we beg him, and this is some brothers say you can't say please, but it's a begging of Allah Ta'ala to enwrap us in his mercy and to send down upon his sakina and to make us of those who thabit and fixed and firm upon this deen, fi hayatina, in our life, and to mamat, until we die, and to raise us with the siddiqeen and the shuhada and the salihin and the anbiya wa hasna ulaika rafiqa. I mean, Allah is able to do all of that. He who looks at the present situation of the Muslims, as has been stated by Abu Muhammad Shaykh Rabi ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, Hafizahullah, the carrier of the banner of Jahr wa Ta'adil in this time, the caller to sidq, to truthfulness, the caller to not lying, not making kadhab, the caller to the Muslims coming together and unifying themselves in Kitab and Sunnah and the way of Salaf Salih. The call to a tasfiyah wa tarbiyah, the call to cleansing the deen and raising people upon that deen, which in fact came from the heavens. That deen which in fact was taught by Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to Sahaba. Sheikh Rabi says, if one was to look at the ummah today, and was he to die from grief, that would not be something far-fetched. To die from grief as to what he sees is affecting the Muslims, what the Muslims are going through, what the Muslims are experiencing. And this is something that really, the more you have, the more iman you have, the clearer this matter is. And the more that you feel yourself part of the ummah. So many of us have a disease that we have not found or have not used to prescribe medicine that the Prophet ﷺ or that the deen of Allah Ta'ala tells us to take, of unsuriyya or qawmiyya, racism or nationalism. Still there some places in the back of our mind, in the very back, far back, in the recesses of our mind, which makes us feel that we're not part of an ummah. But in reality, we have to understand that we are part of this ummah, that we are on the same earth that the rest of the ummah is upon. I don't know, it's going to give me feedback here. We are upon the same earth that the rest of the ummah is on. And we are breathing the same air that the rest of the ummah is breathing. And the Prophet ﷺ informed us that the believers are like one body. And a Muslim, akhu Muslim. The Muslim is the brother of a Muslim. So we are connected. So therefore what is happening in the East may one day happen in the West. And that the trial and tribulations and difficulties and humiliation that the ummah is going through somewhere else, we should feel that we're part of that. That that's my brother that is being obstructed from practicing his deen. That's not my brother who they went in and they exploded and blew up his house. That's my brother that they took out and threw into exile, threw him out into some middle of somewhere where he has no country that he can go back to or no country that he can go to. No one will accept him. That's my brother that they shot here or hung there or threw gasoline on and set a flame there. It's my brother that in India where the Hindus went house to house killing them. It's my brother in Nigeria where the Christians went house to house killing them. My brothers in Palestine and Philistine and all the madness that is going on over this, who have their land taken away by the kuffar of the earth. A deliberate plan to do that. So if we're part of this ummah, if we're part of this ummah, and we are whether we want to be or not, we are whether we want to be or not, and we are the most visual regarding the individuals who connect themselves to the ummah. Everyone else wants to cut their beard, everyone else wants to take off the thobe, everyone else wants to hide the kufi. We're changing our name to Islamic names. Everyone's changing their names back from Islamic names to names of kuffar. We are on the front line, to be honest about it. And we need to wake up and understand what time it is. That we're part of this ummah. And wherever the ummah is being attacked, we are being attacked. Wherever illnesses that the ummah has, we have these illnesses. Wherever thing that the ummah needs to correct, we need to correct. So when one looks at this issue of this ummah, then there are words that have come from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, as they say, understanding the illness is half the cure or half the remedy. Once we understand how the Prophet Islam has indicated what the illness is and what is happening and what the remedy is, then we are to acquiesce to that and submit to that and strive for that. These words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes to us clearly. It's as if when the sun rises in the day and you see it, it's that clear that this is what is going on. And the fact that the Prophet ﷺ said this so many centuries ago, there's no doubt that weakness has come to this ummah. Who will deny that? Who will say that this ummah is not weak? This ummah is weak. Like I said in the khutbah, it's the cheapest blood on earth. Sometimes they don't want to use the bullet because the bullet's too expensive, so they take the butt of the gun and have crushed the heads of Muslim women and children. As was known that they did in Sabra and Shatila in 83, the Jews and the Christians together, because they work hand in hand. This is also indicated in this narration that we're taking, wherein the Jews, the so-called leader now of Palestine or Israel, which is incorrect, it should be called Palestine or occupied Palestine. Sheikh Rabi Hafidhahullah has an article on that is haram, was forbidden to call it Israel, because Israel is the name of Yaqub alayhi salam, a prophet, and these Yahud have no connection to that prophet, so they should not be called Israel, and the place should not be called Israel. It is occupied Palestine. They've come and occupied it. It wasn't theirs, and they come and occupied it. Now, they worked together. They stood guard. They allowed the Christians in. And like I said, the Christians didn't even want to waste their bullets. All that was in there was women, children, and old men. For the Palestinian Liberation Organization had left and ran to Tunis at the time, and he left them in their camp, in the refugee camp. Came in and killed them. Bust the heads of children with butts of guns. The ummah is weak. The ummah is not weak. The ummah is not weak when now, as we sit here in India, Muslims are being killed left and right. In Nigeria, Christians and Muslims, left and right. In Afghanistan, as we know, 2,000 pound, bombs are being up on their heads. I mean, it went on for a long time, and I guess because the safety of the other Muslims was being affected, it wasn't felt that much. We didn't even hear the roar and cry that we're hearing about Palestine like we did about that situation in Afghanistan. We didn't hear the roar and cry, because the Palestinian situation now is connected to Arab nationalism, and therefore everybody goes crazy over it. But when it's connected to the Shara, and we connect Afghanistan to the legislation, and we connect the situation that's occurring wherever it's occurring on earth up on the proper scale of Kitab wa Sunnah, then all of the Muslims have the same rights and have the same concern. So weakness has come. There's no doubt about that. And this is something that the Prophet Islam explained clearly what would happen in Hadith of Thawban. Thawban was the Mawla, freed slave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Haythu qala, the Prophet ﷺ stated, there will come a time where the enemies or inhabitants of the earth, al-umum, the nations of the earth, will gather and invite one another to you as an ummah, as one invites people to dine to food that they are eating. Illa qas'atiha. Qas'a is mentioned in Riyadh al-Salihin and many other books of Sunnah. It's a big, large platter. Prophet Islam used to have one that was carried by, as the authentic hadith mentions, certain amount of men who would take to carry it. And this is because the Prophet Islam didn't eat alone, and they ate from one matter, as we know. And so he had a qas'a. Well, the Prophet Islam said, it will come where the people, yushaku an tada'a. I mean, it's near that the people will do this. The time is coming where the people will gather together, all the nations, gather and invite others to partake of the Muslim ummah, like an individual does when he's dining. He wants others to eat with him. He gathers, he calls them, let's come, let's eat, you're welcome, and so on and so forth. فَقَالَ قَائِلٌ, someone said, أَوَ مِنْ قِلَّةٍ نَحْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ, it's because we're a small amount, O Messenger of Allah, salawatullahi wa salam alayh. The Prophet ﷺ said, بَلْ أَنْتُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ كَثِيرٌ, but rather you are a lot. But rather you are a lot. You are many. Kathirun. As is stated now, 1.5 billion Muslims, 1.5 billion of those who face Qibla, 1.5 billion or more of those who ascribe themselves to Islam. So the Prophet said, "Bal antum yawma idhin kathir." You'll be a lot. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ غُثَاءٌ. But you are غُثَاءٌ. غُثَاءٌ is scum. It's that which comes above the ocean. And in the ocean, as you know, as the waves go, there is filth on top of it. It's that which is dry. As it says, فوق, above on the ocean, it takes all the wasakh, all the dirt from the areas of the earth, and it's carried up on the ocean. And this is called scum, or gutha'a in Arabic. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ غُثَاءٌ. You are scum. Like the scum upon the top of the ocean. Like the scum on the top of the ocean. This is the definition of, this is the description of the Muslims. Gutha'a. Scum. Like the scum upon the ocean. And Allah Tabarak Ta'ala would take out from the hearts of your enemy any fear of you. Min suduri aduwikum al-mahaba. He would take out any fear that the enemy had for you. وَلَيَقْذِفَنَّ اللَّهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ الْوَهْنَ. And Allah will throw in your heart, this backup is, Allah will throw in your heart, Allah Tabarak Ta'ala will throw in your heart al-wahn. Al-wahn. قال يا رسول الله, O Messenger of Allah, وَمَا الْوَهْنِ. The Sahaba asked, what is this wahn that will be thrown into our hearts? قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, حب الدنيا, love of the dunya, عليك السلام رحمة الله وبركاته, وكراهية الموت, and hatred for death. This is wahn that will be thrown into the hearts. حب الدنيا, love of the dunya, وكراهية الموت, and hatred of death. And this hadith is related in the books of Sunnah. Abu Dawood brought it, Ahmad brought it, and others, and it is Sahih. This hadith gives us the, if you could say, the analytical reasoning of this weakness that we have. It's like the diagnosis. You go to the doctor, get checked out, and you say, well, this is what you got. This is your problem. This is what you need to fix. This hadith tells us why we have this weakness. And it is that which shows the ummah, as he said, bidalalatin thaqila, with strong, heavy evidence about the reality of the Muslims today. This came from the mouth of a Sadiq al-Masduq, the one who is truthful and whose truthfulness has been confirmed by Allah Ta'ala. Man la yantiqu an al-hawa, the one who doesn't speak out of desires, but rather it is wahyun yuha, it's revelation. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said. Now the first matter that we understand here is that the a'da Allah, the enemies of Allah Ta'ala, the army of Iblis, from jinn and ins, men and jinn, the army of Iblis and the supporters of Shaitan, they lie in wait for this ummah. They lie in wait for this ummah, for the Muslims, for any opportunity that they will have to seek weakness, or any area of weakness that they can enter and attack. They can attack and do away, cause some sickness to the actual body of the Muslim ummah. And when they have done this, then they jump upon this ummah and they try to squeeze from it baqiyya, as he says, the last of its breath. And this is something we must understand, that the kafir, Yahudi, Jew, Nasrani, Christian, Majusi, fire worshipper, Hindu, whatever, the kafir wants that the Muslim die, that the Muslim no longer exists. It is not our coexistence they want. It is not that we change and become more tolerant. It is not that we, become more politically correct, as they say. None of that will help. They want that we don't exist. They want that it's no longer. They're from the army of Iblis, the army of Shaitan. They want that this ummah, that there's no one on earth left to worship Allah Ta'ala. That there exists no one upon earth who has the audacity to say that which is the truth. That La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah, that none in existence has the right to be worshipped except Allah alone, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger. They want that goes away, that fades, that just becomes something that was a slogan. So they wait, they lie in wait, and they plot, and they plan for this. The kuffar from the mushriku Ahl al-Kitab, kuffar from the mushriks of Ahl al-Kitab, the Jews and the Christians, have been doing this from the earliest portion or earliest part of Islam. From the beginning of Islam, when the Islamic government or the Islamic government under Muhammad Ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was just being established, before it was able to raise its head, before the Muslims were able to gather, before they had any power or any basis, they were trying to destroy the Muslims. Before he was able to establish or raise the pillars of the Islamic government in Medina, Nabawiyya, the city of the Prophet ﷺ, and they were trying to attack the Muslims at that time. They've been doing it from the beginning. The Sheikh, Hafidhahullah, Sheikh Salim mentions here, this matter comes real clear if you think about the matter of the three that stayed away from the Ghazwat al-Tabuk. The three that stayed away. You know the hadith, the narration of Ka'b, who didn't go out with the Prophet ﷺ, and he made his various excuses and so on and so forth. But the hadith is evidence that truthful and being truthful and telling the truth is that which will make one successful. And he was from the Arabs, and he was from Quraysh, and Quraysh have the ability to argue, the gift of gab, as we say, and be able to get themselves out of anything. Matter of fact, have you thinking after they've committed a crime, after they get done talking to you, think you've committed a crime for accusing them of committing a crime. They have that type of gift of gab and so on and so forth. He said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if I was in front of anyone else, I know without a doubt I'd get myself out of this situation. But I know that you, even if I please you now, that you are the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and if I tell you something that is in reality not the truth, that Allah ta'ala will reveal it to you later on. So he was truthful. Anyway, in this, the Prophet said, we'll look into your matter. And then the Muslims were ordered to make hajr, to boycott him for 50 days, not to talk to him, his closest of kin. They were ordered to separate from their wives. The story is in Bukhari, wasn't no hadith. 50 days. But to show that the enemies of Islam are looking in, they send their henchmen, they send their spies, they send those who are in alliance with them. They get information. They squeeze here and squeeze there, look here and look there. You know what I'm saying? This is how they work. And this is how it was in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet Islam has now issued a verdict. The verdict is that Ka'b and his other two companions who were truthful in this matter must be boycotted by the Muslims for 50 days. What happens? Ka'b ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu says, "Baynama ana amshi." I'm walking fi suq al-Madina, in the market of Medina. Idha nabatiyun. Nabatiyun is a farmer, falahun. He's called nabat because he just istinbat al-ma. He extracts water, right? So they called him nabat. You hear this term, nabatiyun. He said, here comes a man, nabatiyun, a farmer, min nabta ahl al-Sham, from the people of Sham, min ma qadabi ta'am liyubih. He came, this nabat, from Sham. Sham is, of course, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. That's the area of Sham, where the Beit al-Maqdis is, where Jerusalem is. All that area is Sham. And Sham has very many virtues and fada'il. And in the last days, the Muslim rulership will be from there, and so on and so forth. Known about Sham, and we could talk all day about the virtues of Sham. Nevertheless, this Nabatiyun, who's non-Muslim, obviously came there to trade and buy, and he's walking the souk of Medina. Allahu A'lam, well, he called him a farmer. He didn't say whether or not he was that, but the letter he brought shows what he is. He says, who can guide me to Ka'b ibn Malik? Ka'b ibn Malik. So the people, they can't talk to Ka'b. Why? They've been ordered by Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam not to talk to him. So they all point to him. Yashirun Allah, point to him. And to the man came to me and gave me a letter from the ruler of Ghassan. And he, a kafir. He said, وَكُنْتُ كَاتِبًا, I was able to read and write. I was literate. فَقَرَأْتُهُ, he said, I read it. And what was in this letter from this kafir king? To proceed. It has reached us that your companion, meaning Muhammad ﷺ, has been harsh with you. And Allah won't place you. This is how the kafir says it. Allah won't place you in a place, or you don't have to stay in a place where you've been humiliated. Yeah? Nor a place where your rights are not being observed. فَالْحَقْ بِنَا, come to us. You will find kindness and warmness, contentment, whatever. This is a ruling that the Prophet ﷺ gave in the Masjid Nabawi to the Muslims, not to speak to Ka'b. How has it reached him that your companion, he means Muhammad ﷺ, has been harsh with you? How did it reach him? Because the kuffar are what? Constantly watching, constantly observing. So consider, O Muslim, as he says, intelligent Muslim. And he says, Tadabbur, the Shaykh says, Ayyuhal akhul habib, my beloved brother. How the kuffar are observing the Muslims, observing what the Muslims do, observing what the Muslims are saying, and to when they find a place of opening, when they find a weakness, when they find an opportunity, they rush and jump upon it. From wherever they are. This is a ruler, kafir ruler, sending this one with this. All right? So this is important to understand. Another matter that we understand from this hadith, أن أم الكفر يدعو بعضها بعضا. They call, the nations of kufr call one another. They invite one another. They set up alliances. They set up agreements with one another, inviting one another to deal with this, inviting one another to deal with the Muslims. Let's gather against the Muslims. Let's plot against the Muslims. Let's strategize against the Muslims. The Muslim nations, its people, and the Muslim callers. Let's plot against them. And he who reads the what is called or known as the Crusaders, the history of the Crusaders, he who reads that finds this. It's called Hamlat Salibiyya in Arabic. It is where in Christendom, the Christians decided that they were going to do away with all the Muslims. Amongst the matters that they want to deal with, besides Philistine and their long history, I'm not going to go all through it right now, but it's there. When the Muslims ruled Spain for over 700 or 800 years, and then the Crusaders came there. Decide what they did in Philistine. They would actually, physically, as is narrated, pull the breast off of Muslim women, cut their stomachs open of those who were pregnant, cut their necks off, and so on and so forth. It was a concerted effort for everybody to gather under the salib, the cross, and to kill anyone who didn't believe in it. So this just shows that they gather for this. In World War I and World War II and the things that happened in World War I is not far away from those who read history. All of it is like the sun shining in the midday sky, that these people gather together for the destruction of the Muslim. They gather together to uproot the Muslim, to cut him off from any type of existence. And in order for them to be able to do this, they have to set up foundations and institutions like the United Nations and so on and so forth, or Majlis here, we have a committee for this, and we have a hayya for that, and a system for this, Nidam and Alamiyan Jadid, New World Order, and so on and so forth. These are all things you have heard and you're aware of, and those who are upon a Dawah Salafiyya take it one way, and we understand it being upon Kitab some way, the Salaf Salih, understand in the light of Kitab and Sunnah and what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has stated regarding this issue. The issue of the Muslims and the weaknesses of the Muslim. Third thing we understand from hadith is that the lands of the Muslims are a place full of resources. Oil, diamonds, expensive resources. And the Kafirs jump upon this and they extract all of it. Take it. And they make up laws and invent laws which make it lawful for them to take it from the Muslims, to strip the lands of the Muslims without anybody doing anything. This is taken from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. It's shown that he gave the example of them having a large platter filled with the best food, mamlu'a, filled with the best food, and each of them come and take this and take that. This is like the lands of the Muslims. And then one of the things that was written regarding Afghanistan by some of the brothers upon the way of the Salaf was that Afghanistan has up under its soil 500 years of oil. That beside what they're saying of the, they're dealing with this and they're dealing with that and so on and so forth, and there's also that factor there, which to me won't escape somebody who is from Texas and who's made a lot of money in the oil business. I don't think that fact would escape him. They take the resources of the Muslims, strip it, take everything that the Muslims have there, just like a diner would do. Sitting at a platter, he takes to what? I like this, I like that, I want to take this, I'm going to taste this, or let me taste that. The Prophet Islam is giving us a clear example that these nations of kuffar will come upon us as if we are the ones sitting in the platter, and they are surrounding us and they're partaking of us, partaking of our land, taking the resources, taking everything, taking what they want, calling and inviting one another to do this. Could he have been, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, any more clear? Is it not as if the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam is living right now amongst us, even though we know that he has passed away alayhi salam a long time ago, that his words are that much of reality as to what has actually happened? Nations of the kuffar gathering, let's deal with them. They are the problems. Those who believe in the oneness of Allah Ta'ala, those who believe in that book, the Quran, those who believe in the Sunnah, those who face Qibla, those who make wudu, those who make salat, those who make sajda, those who make ruku, they are the problem, they are the issue. That me from France, and you from Russia, and you from China, and you from Japan, and you from Korea, what gathers us together is that we all kuffar. We need to deal with them. We need to strategize and plan to deal with them. We need to get their physical resources that they have within their countries. We need to come in between them, create conflict and disputes and split them into factions. We need to do the Fir'auni thing, the Pharaoh game. As Allah said about Pharaoh, Pharaoh was arrogant in earth and he made his people into Shia, into groups. Something that Pharaoh decided to do, make them into factions. Don't let them unify upon what's correct. Make them into factions, make them into groups. This is a Fir'auni political game. It's an old one that Pharaoh used to do, to split the people, separate the people. This is what they're doing. This is the strategy. And the Prophet ﷺ informed us of this matter. Fourth matter, they, or I should say before that the Prophet ﷺ, when he said that this platter is full of all types of good food, he's talking about the Muslims. So it means that the Muslims have all these good resources. Resources that we don't even think about that we have. That while we blessed to gather upon Kitab and Sunnah and way to Salaf Saleh, resources beyond belief. And the Prophet ﷺ has clearly stated this. The best food, a platter with the best food is the same thing as saying the Muslims with their resources, material resources, which Allah Ta'ala has blessed them with. Another matter, that the kuffar have made the lands of the Muslims into such that they have cut them off and made them to the wilat, little bitty governments here and there. This is something that that is from an old posture, which is divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Farrak tasud, as they say in Arabic, divide and conquer. That if I want to separate you into little small groups, I can't deal with you all gathered together. But if I separate you, then conquering you is something that is very easy to do. Because you're weak at that point. You're separate at that point. And this is something anybody with any intelligence knows and understands. The Prophet ﷺ has indicated this, that the Muslims will be gathered into different soldiers, and that their places will be in different areas. He said there will be an army in Sham, and there will be an army in Iraq, and there will be an army in Yemen. The person, the Sahabi, Abdullah ibn Hawala, said to the Prophet ﷺ, "Khir li ya Rasulullah, choose for me, where should I be?" The Prophet ﷺ said, "Alaykum bisham." You should go to Sham. And he who doesn't want to go to Sham, then go to Yemen and drink from the water of Yemen. I mean, live amongst the people of Yemen. But then he said, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ تَكَفَّلَ لِي بِالشَّامِ وَأَهْلِهَا. For Allah Ta'ala has guaranteed for me the people of Sham, or Sham and its people. And Aba Adris al-Khawlani said, when he used to say this narration, وَمَنْ تَكَفَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ فَلَا ضَيْعَةَ لَهُ. And whoever Allah Ta'ala guarantees, they won't be lost. Whoever Allah has guaranteed that He will take care of them, they won't be lost. So this is the reality of the Muslims. Little small dawilat, or governments here and there. And many of them can't do anything without these kuffar telling them what to do. This is a state of weakness, right? It's not something that is a matter of preference. It's a state of weakness. Someone comes to you then says you do this or it's your destruction. The vast majority of people would do that would do whatever they're ordering rather than be destroyed. And this is the reality that we're looking and we're living in. We should not close our eyes to this issue, but rather we find in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that which guides us in this issue, clarifies what's going on, clarifies what's happening. And to us in reality, this is fiqh al-waqi', but it's fiqh al-waqi', knowledge of current affairs, in light of Quran and Sunnah and the ahadith, the narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sixth matter is that this hadith says there will come a time where the kuffar will stop fearing the Muslims. The Muslims will lose that which they had of being able to throw fear in the hearts of the non-believers. And this ru'ab is called in Arabic. This ru'ab was a great benefit for the Muslims. And it was a great ni'mah, blessing for the Muslims. And it was something that Allah Ta'ala gave the Muslims to such a degree with the kuffar, those who make shirk, and those who ascribe partners to Allah Ta'ala. We hear of the Muslims as far away as a month's journey, and he'll start packing up all his stuff and his clothing and everything. I got to get out of here. Why? Because the Muslims going to win. Oh, they'll be here 30 days from now. And it was a fear. Some hide under the beds, go into the mountains, get out the air. Why? Because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba are coming. Why? Because such and such and such from the Tabi'een are coming. Why? Because the Muslims had that ru'ab. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Nusirtu bi ru'bi misiratu shahrin." I have been helped or given victory. One of the khasa'is, one of the qualities that this Prophet had over other prophets is that he would be given victory or supported with this fear that will be thrown in the hearts of the kuffar even as far as a month's journey. You're shaking in your boots. You're having what you would call bowel movements that are not voluntary. You know what I'm saying? Involuntary bowel movements. You're shaking. You're losing your bowl, your urine, and so on and so forth. And you're packing everything up and you're getting out of the way because the Muslims are coming. The Muslims are coming. They haven't arrived. They won't be here tomorrow. They won't be here the next day. They won't be here 2 weeks from now. They won't be here 3 weeks from now. A month from now. We will lose that. They won't have it. They won't have no fear about that used to shake up the Hizb Shaitan or the group of Shaitan. This weapon of fear was a great weapon. And it returns to those who are upon Kitab wa Sunnah in the way of Salaf Salih. If you're reading the lessons in the history, even amongst the Muslims, that when you read about the scholars, that they say this scholar, there was a haiba they had for him. The people had a haiba for him. That the great scholars were such that the people feared them more than the Sultan or the Amir. Because of what he carried of taqwa and ilm and this type of thing. So those who support the Sunnah and upon the Sunnah and the way of the Sunnah and the way of the Salaf Salih, this will be a quality that is there. But nevertheless, as an ummah, it will be a time where it's lost. Allah Ta'ala says, "Nulqi fi qulubi alladhina kafaru ru'ba." We will throw in the hearts of those who believe fear. Bima ashraku billah. Because they set up partners and ascribed partners to Allah. Ma lam yunazzil bihi sultana. And Allah had not sent down any authority for that. And the Prophet said, Nusirtu bi-ru'b. I've been granted victory and support through this ru'b, through this fear. The distance of a month. And this hadith can be found in Bukhari and Muslim. Hadith Jabir. This is a special quality that goes to the ummah. How do we know that it goes to the ummah? Because the Prophet said in this hadith of Thoban, and Allah will remove from your enemies this fear. Meaning that it was present. That it was placed there. You did have that ability or effect on the kuffar, that they had actual fear for you in their hearts. But that will be removed. And as we said, when the Muslims come back to what they come back to, then of course these blessings return. Seventh matter we understand is that the means of the quwwah, or the strength of the Muslim, it's not in its numbers or how well prepared they are militarily. Some Muslims are under that misconception. Well, if we just had a couple million more Muslims, and if we just had 1,000 tanks, and if we just had 1 million planes, and if we just had nuclear weapons, if we just had nuclear weapons, and so on and so forth. Some Muslims think that that's victory. But that is not our case. Our case is different. The Muslim case is different. Its strength comes in its aqeedah. Its aqeedah and its minhaj. This is an ummah that carries the aqeedah, the correct belief. This is an ummah that carries the liwa' tawheed, the banner of tawheed, for which Allah Ta'ala brought in existence all abid, all servants, all creation. Atasma' qawla Rasulillah. Did you not hear the answer of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? The answer of Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in which when the person says, will we be a small amount? What was his answer? بَلْ أَنْتُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ كَثِيرٌ. He can't imagine, how is it that all the ummah, all the nations of the kuffar are able to gather at us and come like call each other, like they're inviting like diners to dine and take from us and so on and so forth. We must be only a few people. How can they do that? The Prophet ﷺ says, like, but antum yawma idin kathir, you are a great amount. Great amount. So the quwwah doesn't come from the amount. It doesn't come from the quantity. Remove from anything that you might have in your head or your mind. That quantity is what is the situation. The situation is a matter of quality. It is quality, not quantity. It is aqeedah and minhaj and being upon what?
Allah has ordered us, and it's not how much weaponry we have, and that's a means, but it's not the source of our strength. He said, look at the Dars of Hunayn. You know what happened in Hunayn. Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, Allah taught them a lesson because they were astonished by their numbers. And they said, it wasn't the ghurur, astonishment that some people have today, but it's just a statement basically. Oh, they looked around and they said, well, you know, unlike battles we've been in before, we won't be taken, you know, out because of our lack of numbers now. Not like Battle of Badr, 313 against all them, you know, 1,000 or more. Right? It's not like this battle or that battle where we are few and the kuffar a lot. We got we got a lot here. This is all they were saying, yet Allah taught them a lesson in that regard. They taught them a lesson in that regard. وَيَوْمَ هُنَيْنِ إِذْ أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ كَثْرَتُكُمْ. And the day of Hunayn when you were astonished by your number. فَلَمْ تُقْنِ عَنْكُمْ شَيْئًا. It didn't help you in the least bit. It didn't help you in the least bit that you had the numbers. So this is something we must understand. That it's not the matter of numbers. It is not a matter of quantity. It's not a matter of numbers. How many brothers we get? Well, if we all just gather together, this one on correct tawheed, and this one on shirk, this one upon sunnah, and this one upon Shiism and Sufism, this upon this one and this one, just gather. No, this won't help. It is the quality of the individuals. And those individuals, no matter what their number is, if they meet the dictates, if they have the ingredients that Allah Ta'ala wants placed there, in which He has said or He will give His victory to, then no matter how their numbers is, Allah Ta'ala, who brought us all into existence, who the one who is, when He wants to do something, He says, kun, be, and it is, will make that come about. Eighth matter is that the ummah will be such that it has no weight to it. There's no respect to it. No respect to the word Muslim. No respect to it. No respect for the name of Allah Ta'ala. Why don't you know that the disbelievers are making fun and mockery of the name of Allah Ta'ala in their books and in their magazines and in their newspapers and on their radios and so on and so forth? The name of Allah Ta'ala. No respect for the Muslim. No respect. Don't you know that they're talking about Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Talking about his wives. One of them wrote a book about the shaitanic verses or whatever, talking about the Prophet and his wives. No respect. No respect whatsoever. Recently there was an email that I received. Listen to this. Israeli soldiers use Quran as toilet paper. Israeli, which Jewish soldiers who have taken part, he's talking about they did this before in 1967 and they're doing it again, use torn pages for the Quran to wipe themselves. And one Arab member of the Knesset, Ahmed Tibbi, accused soldiers of wiping their behinds with pages of the Holy Quran during their so-called Operation Defensive Shield that just took place. He said they took the Quran and used it to wipe themselves in the bathroom. Your soldiers, your boys. He said you should be ashamed of yourself. What a disgrace. This is all he could say. It has gotten to that point where the book of Allah Ta'ala can be stripped and done like this, and there's no men to defend it. No one stands up and say, no, what are you doing? Stop them, restrict them, deal with them, put them in their proper place, subdue them. None of that. Why? Because the ummah has no weight. It's of no importance. It's as the Prophet said that it will be with the people upon the earth. لَكِنَّكُمْ غُثَاءٌ. You are scum. Kagutha is saved, like the scum upon the ocean. If we listen to those words from the mouth of Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the mouth of the one who's been sent rahmatan lil alameen, as a mercy for the whole world, for the one who wanted no harm to come to his ummah, he would grieve in that respect. Alayhi salam. Yes, he's saying lakinnakum, but you ghutha'un, scum, ka ghutha'is say, like the scum of the ocean. Look at the ghutha. Think about it. Think about what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. Look at the ghutha, the scum, the qualities of the scum that is up on the ocean. It goes whatever direction that the waves of the ocean go. And this is how the Muslims are doing with the governments and nations of kuffar. Wherever direction they go, we go. They take us right, we go right. They take us left, we go left. They say today is west, we're about west. And tomorrow is east, we're about east. Like the scum on the ocean, just going wherever it flows. Wherever they shout out, we take in. Whatever they feed us, we digest and we take. And no matter how massive the names of their organizations and institutions are, all they need to do is say, well, this is the United Nations has said this. Well, the Security Council has said this. And so on and so forth. We eat it all up and go in that direction that they go. So this is something that should be understood. We are, like he says, flies, deaf, dumb, and blind. And we make what they say as if it's revealed from the heavens. As if it came down from Allah, tabarak wa ta'ala. You hear the Muslim saying on his tongue as if it's something factual. As if it's reality. Another thing about the ghutha, that the ocean, what does the ocean carry? It carries that foam that doesn't benefit anyone. La yanfa'u nas, it doesn't benefit anyone. And this is the Ummah of Islam today. Where in the Ummah of Islam before had sadara, it had leadership. It was the one that taught the people. The people came to the Muslims to get their education, whether deen-wise or secular education. They traveled from miles around. Some of them got on board ships and so on and so forth. So come to places like Spain and Baghdad and study. And study. The Muslims ordered what was good and forbade what was bad. They were just, upright, correcting their behavior, gentle, and so on and so forth. The people what? Benefited. The people what? Benefited. And this is because believers benefit others. The khair of the believer goes to others. Prophet ﷺ said, the believer, the strong believer is better than a weak believer, but in both of them there is what? Khair. The strong believer is better than the weak believer, but both of them is khair, good. And look what the Prophet said, Allah Ta'ala has made me blessed wherever I may be, right? Good to my mother, good to this one, good to that one, and have made me mubarakan, blessed wherever I may be. The one who carries tawheed, the one who carries the light that Allah Ta'ala sent from the heavens, the one who carries the understanding of the purpose for existence in his life and calls others to it and benefits others and restricts his life to it, is a barakah. He exudes barakah, blessing. He's a benefit to the people. But now we have become like that scum upon the ocean. Doesn't benefit anyone. Doesn't benefit anyone. And another thing about the foam upon the ocean is that it goes away. It goes away. And Allah Ta'ala places something in its place. Places something in its place. And this is what will happen. That this status or this current affair will change. It will change. And that scum, that ghutha, will change. Allah will give this matter to those who know how precious it is. To those who know how real it is and how true it is. Those who have no doubt in the promise of Allah Ta'ala. Those who have no doubt regarding the threat of Allah Ta'ala and the punishment of Allah Ta'ala. He will give it to a ta'ifa, a group upon Kitab wa Sunnah, the way to Salaf Salih. And they will benefit the people. And they will benefit the earth. And the universe will be happy. The birds will be happy. The bees will be happy. The insects will be happy. The cats and the dogs will be happy. Because this individual will be connected to Kitab Sunnah and the way of the Salaf Salih, and he will be upon the limits that Allah Ta'ala has placed upon us to be upon. And he's like that, full of mercy. He will know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that a woman entered the paradise, a prostitute, for giving a dog a drink of water, and that a woman entered the hellfire for restricting a cat from eating. So he will show mercy to cats and dogs. He will be merciful to women and children, merciful to the old and the young, merciful to animals and plants. His existence is in fact a mercy. These were the people, or these are the people who would take, who will be the alternative to this scum. Another matter about scum is that this scum that is on the ocean, what does it carry? It's mixed, khalitun, mixed with all kadhurat, with all the dirt of the earth. Right? The foam that's on the ocean, the filth that's on the ocean, I mean, the ocean is vast. And all the dirt and filth comes up on this foam. That's what it's mixed with. And that's how the minds and hearts of the Muslims are today. Scum. Their minds and hearts are full of all the filth. The filth from the philosophies that are other than Islam. The filth from the so-called civilizations that were before. The filth of that which the enemies of Allah and the friends of Shaitan have presented. All that filth is there. And this is why the Dawah Salafiyya, the Dawah Athariyya calls to the removal, tasfiyya, removing all of those afkar, all those thoughts from their hearts and minds of people. Another thing about ghuthar, or scum, is that it doesn't know where it's going. Scum on top of the ocean doesn't know where it's going, any direction it takes. And scum on top of the ocean will be taken to any way. And so therefore the Muslims who are like this will be led to their own destruction while they don't know. As it says, like someone who is digging their own grave with their own fingernails. Digging their own graves with their own fingernails. This is how the ummah is. It's not aware of the plots and plans of its enemies. Nor is it aware of what direction it's going, but it goes wherever they go and wherever direction they take it. Eighth matter, and this is very important also, is that it means that the ummah has made the dunya akbaru hammuha. The dunya, the most important issue in its life. The dunya, this petty, filthy, transitory, temporary existence, and the material possessions that kuffar and others amongst the creation, Muslims and non-Muslims, that humans make and build. This is important to him. This is the most important thing. A place where he knows he has to leave. There's no one who came here who didn't leave. He has to leave. Death must come to him. It is not a place for him to stay eternally. The Prophet ﷺ said, what is me, my relation in the dunya? Except, as he said, except like a rider, traveler, who got his bags and his luggage and everything with him, right? And he goes under the tree and takes a nap, and then he gets up and he moves on. Dunya is that period of time. It's transitory. Yet the ummah will make it the most important thing. And the most important level of its knowledge is in that. And also it will have hatred of death and love life. The dunya has taken control of their hearts. And they don't think about the akhirah, the hereafter, or preparing for the hereafter. What do you have for tomorrow? What do you have when you're in front of Allah Ta'ala, barefooted, naked, and uncircumcised, and the sun is closer to you than you could ever have imagined? and your destination is to the Jannah or to the Nar, what are you prepared for? What have you prepared? Every one of us should ask ourselves, the old men and the young men. Don't be deluded by the dunya. Don't let shaitan trick you to thinking that death can't come to you at any time. But this is how the ummah has become. The Prophet ﷺ feared this for the ummah. And Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As and the Nabi ﷺ قال إذا فتح عليكم فارس وروم أيكم أنتم. When you have given victory over Persia and Rome, what type of people will you be? Durrah bin Auf said, نقول كما أمرنا الله. We will say as Allah ordered us. Meaning he will thank Allah, will be grateful, and so on and so forth. Prophet said, "Oh, غير ذلك," or other than that, تتنافسون, you'll compete. ثم تتحاسدون, then you'll be envious of one another. ثم تتدابرون, then you turn your backs to one another. ثم تتباغضون, then you'll hate one another. This is how it will be. When the dunya is open and materialistic prosperity is placed in your hands. Now, so this is something that should be understood, and I think I went a little long maybe, but in this regard, I'll say lastly, this hadith shows that Islam the kuffar will never be able to remove Islam, nor the Muslims, nor those upon Kitab and Sunnah and the way the Salaf Salih and those who are on the Da'wah Salafiyya. This ta'ifa will always remain, and no matter what they do, even if they gather every nation upon earth and come in alliance with every nation upon earth and gather all the weaponry of every nation upon earth, they will not be able to do. And this is clear in the hadith of Thawban, another narration of it, in which the Prophet ﷺ said that the earth was gathered for me, and I saw the east of it and the west of it, and that my ummah dominion was reached as much as it was gathered for me, and have been given the two treasures, the ahmar and the abyad, yani gold and silver. And my Lord, I asked my Lord that my nation will not be destroyed by poverty, all of them dying from poverty. And I asked my Lord that he does not let one enemy come other than from themselves come upon them and totally destroy them. And Allah Ta'ala said, Ya Muhammad, O Muhammad, verily if I decide a decision, it will not be rejected. And when Allah Ta'ala decides something, no one can change it. No one can do anything about it. MashaAllah Khan, wala ma lam yasha lam yakun. And he says that I will promise you that your ummah will not be destroyed by just poverty or drought or like this, and that there will be not an enemy from other than themselves who will destroy them totally, even if all of them gather to do so, even if all the continents and all the kuffar from those continents gathered rather upon the Muslims, they were not to do that, but the Muslims will fight one another and they will imprison one another, which is another issue or another lecture. So, this is a matter that we must understand, inshallah ta'ala, a little bit of the hadith, lakinnakum gutha'a, but you will be scum. Lakinnakum gutha'a, but you will be scum. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.